Hi, I'm Tim, welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. Today we're discussing the f.p.journe Vagabondage 2 in Platinum. One of 69 pieces manufactured for the 2010 model year, this limited edition Jump Hour Jump Minute tonneau case f.p.journe can be seen and purchased on our website. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you enjoy these videos, and please click on the card in the upper right hand corner of the screen at any time during this video to see our full sales listing for this watch with additional accessories included in the sale, high resolution images for your desktop, and naturally complete pricing details for this f.p.journe Vagabondage 2. Now, the watch is a successor to the Vagabondage 1 and a precursor to the 2017 Vagabondage 3, the middle child of a exalted trilogy. This watch took the original jump hour concept of the Vagabondage 1 to the next level, jumping hours, jumping minutes, and jumping tens of minutes. Now, the Vagabondage series started with a one-off made in 2004 for the anniversary of the auction house Antiquorum. There was a series, a very short one of a few dozen units, from 2005 to 2006, but it established some of the fundamental design and engineering ethics of the Vagabondage series. The original movement was sort of a leftover that f.p.journe had designed as a movement engineer created for a third-party customer that decided not to take delivery. The shaped caliber encouraged a tonneau case, and so it was, but because the movement wasn't up to f.p.journe's personal standards of chronometric precision, the resulting Vagabondage 1 did not feature his name or his mark on the dial, and that's continued here. It's also continued through the V3. So between the format of jumping time, a tonneau case with a shaped movement, and an unsigned dial, the die was cast for the Vagabondage, and it was always an easy-wearing watch on a small wrist. Through all three editions, and I've experienced all of them, my 16 centimeter circumference wrist has found a perfect companion and an apt match for my peculiar smaller wrist profile. So even if your wrist is as small as 13 to 13.5 centimeters in circumference, as long as it's flattish across the top, you're going to wear this one easily. This is a thin watch, at only 8 millimeters thick. It's thinner than something like an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak 15202, 8 millimeters versus, in that case, 8.3. It's 37.6 millimeters from 9 to 3, or what would conventionally be 9 to 3. That is the 9 o'clock side to the crown, but that's not counting the crown. Now, from lug to lug, it has a very friendly dimension of 45.6 millimeters, so you're going to find that the watch is easy to wear across a smaller wrist, and because the watch features a unique recessed strap, there's actually a little bit of a garage or a hollow on the case between the lugs that allows the strap to be backed in between so that you have both a coherent and integrated look. There's no daylight visible between strap end and case, but you also have unconstrained movement because of that hollow in the case flying. So if you have that smaller wrist, you can pull the strap straight down and around your wrist. It doesn't have any tendency to fight and flare as you sometimes get when a strap is so close coupled to a case band. The strap itself is very nicely made. It's a little bit different from the Journe norm in that the first owner of this watch opted for a smooth and supple calfskin rather than the tougher but longer wearing alligator. It won't last 3 to 5 years like the gator backed strap, but it will be more comfortable for the 2 to 3 years that it lasts. The top is the typical f.p.journe large rectangular scale. It's a semi-gloss, perhaps matte black with a monotone stitch, folded edges, and a slim profile. Exceptionally, the watch is paired with a full deployant clasp in platinum, so most f.p.journe watches do feature a pin buckle. The fact that this has a clasp gives it both more security while donning or removing at bedside, as well as more physical mass. So between the platinum case, the 18-karat rose gold, solid gold movement, and that platinum clasp, it feels pretty hefty for a relatively compact watch. The timepiece is simple in its shape. It has a rather, dare I say, tortue profile to it, and in fact the original movement that f.p.journe opted to use in the Vagabondage 1 was rumored to have been originally intended for a Cartier CPCP collection tortue jump hour that never came to pass, and thus we have a rather Cartier case profile here. Of course, it's beautifully made, but because it's essentially a monoblock on its upper profile, you have sides, flanks, and tops cast all as one piece with differential finish. Polished on the side, there's a little bit of a buckled curvature to the flow of the case band into the lug, but it's fairly simple. There is a polished transitional bevel between the hood and the flank, and then the top has a vertical directional grain that nicely matches the vertical directional grain of the white gold platform for all of the time displays at center. Now, one thing I love about the dial is that not only is it uniquely unsigned with the manufacturer's name or marks, but it features a smoked sapphire that covers the the 3 jumping discs of the time display, as well as much of the dial side of the movement itself. But it's the asymmetry of that center register for the hours, tens of minutes, minutes, and small seconds. You can see top to bottom, it's not equal in measurement from side to side. So lengthwise and vertically, it is not symmetrical. It has a little bit of a trick of the eye in that it appears balanced at first glance, but the more you look at it, the more you realize how oddly shaped it is. It's the very definition of charm and character and calculated asymmetry. It almost harks back to the pocket watches on which f.p.journe cut his teeth as a young watchmaker, with a little bit of asymmetry inherited from the layout of the mechanism below. Now, there is a sub-register for seconds at 6 o'clock that anchors the dial. You have blued counterweighted seconds hand with a little miniature railroad register for ticking off the seconds. You'll also note Journe's characteristic dial side bolts are present and correct. He found a way to integrate them into this watch. You'll also note that the anchor points for the remainder comprise what are essentially a triplet of pivots and one more screw or bolt at the top of the dial. Journe's biomorphic hands, so well known from other models. To give you a macro shot of what that looks like, the hands look like this. You can actually see that hand. Now we can get really close. You can see that hand in miniature, acting as the indicator for the power reserve scale. Now, you will want that power reserve scale, as the watch only has an autonomy of 28 hours plus or minus 2 when fully wound. So you're going to want to wind this watch daily, but what a pleasure and a privilege to do so. Now, you can see that there are polished facets or transitional bevels that frame the apertures for the numbers. So there is a nuanced transition from the plane of this semi-dial down to the plane of the individual discs. Moreover, when you turn the watch at a oblique angle, this is probably the best vantage point. It's easier to see in person, but you can see through the smoked sapphire and enjoy the engine-turned perlage across the rose gold baseplate, as well as the details of the underlying mechanism. One clever feature of the watch is that you can set the minutes and hours bidirectionally. Most jump hours and jump minute displays do not like to be set backwards. This one can be. So if you wanted to set it down from 106 to, for instance, 1259, you could do that just as easily as you could set it up to 207. So the watch has a caliber 1509 that is solid 18 karat rose gold. This is Journe's contemporary practice. So 15 lean being the size, the width of the movement, and 09 being the year he started work on it. That's what Journe's movement codes mean. You can also see that the bridges are beautifully executed in rose gold with perfectly aligned Côte de Genève linear, and I mean perfectly aligned from bridge to bridge. There's another finish at work. As you can see, there's a tight engine-turned perlage across the base plate below the balance, the same as you'll see if you look at the dial side of the movement. The watch has a free-sprung balance for precision as well as durability that is beaten away at 21,600 vibrations per hour. You can see a beautiful radial grain on the crown wheel, and you'll note the barrel peeking out from underneath its bridge, also nicely finished with a satin grain. All of the screw heads are black polished, and when I turn the watch flush to the camera, you see all those screw heads turn black to confirm. You also see the gleam and glint across the edges of the bridges of the mirrored rounded hand-laid anglage. Beautiful, subtle, and I will say that in Journe's particular practice, this finishing tradition is executed broad enough that you can appreciate it without a loop. That's not always the case. Some companies use a hairline anglage that's almost impossible to see. So the movement is both physically massive and aesthetically beautiful, shaped properly and sized to fit the case. This is a manufactured product and a breakthrough product in every respect. You can see and you can purchase this 2010 limited edition of 69 pieces, the Vagabondage 2 in platinum, on our website.